A new house, it means a new kitchen to figure out. So I was hungry and I had a craving for hummus. Okay, this craving didn't come out of just nowhere. I actually saw hummus on sale at a grocery store, but I was a little bit worried about the gas. I love hummus, but I don't love the farts. So I decided I'm going to see if I can make hummus without beans. Now, to make this recipe, you're gonna need a few things. I'm actually gonna make some homemade crackers to go with this. So I've got my mixing bowls. You can check out my other video on homemade crackers. These are gluten-free crackers. I am using 2 different flours this time around. So I'm using Saguda flour, which is a chestnut flour, and I'm also using cassava flour. And we're gonna be using a 1/2 cup of each flour and dump that into a bowl. Now, I'm doing my best, you guys, to level this out, measure it correctly for you. Because if it wasn't for YouTube, I would just be sloppy like I normally. But we'll level that off. And now I have a total of a cup of flour in my bowl. Now, I was craving some cheesy flavored crackers, so this batch of homemade gluten-free crackers is going to include some nutritional yeast, and we're looking at a teaspoon of salt. Now, these actual spoons, they were a little hard to read, so we want a teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna do some nutritional yeast. Looking at about a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. Once you get your dry ingredients in the bowl, you want to go ahead and mix those together. Now, you can totally make different flavor crackers with this recipe. And we're going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil right now. Yes, I measured that once, but we'll add a little bit more. And go ahead and mix that together. Now, when it comes to the olive oil, you can add more or less. I tend to be on the healthier side, so the first batch, that video that I did for these crackers, I used less oil. But I guess I'm feeling generous today because I used 2 tablespoons. And then I have a 3/4 cup of water in my measuring cup. Now, the chestnut flour is a very thirsty flour and it absorbs water pretty well. So if I was not blending it with the cassava flour, then I could have gotten away with it would have absorbed all that water, no problem. But because I am also using the cassava flour, it is a little sticky. So I'm going to take some of that pre-measured out flour and I'm going to put that to mix that in so that my ball is not sticking to the sides, because I don't want my crackers to stick when they're baking either. So you want to go ahead and give that a good mix till it pulls away from the sides of the bowl. One thing I find really challenging about being vegan and having lots of food allergies is people just assume that you don't eat or it must be impossible to eat, but that is so not the case. I love food, I love eating, and I have to tell you, I love being able to be in different homes and try out different appliances. I've gotten so used to cooking with just like the bare minimum because it's what I had available, and it's really nice to be in a big kitchen and to be able to try using gadgets that honestly I don't even think are necessary for cooking, but why not? Now, I could not find a rolling pin, so I'm using this. It looks like a paint roller, you guys, but it is in their kitchen with their kitchen supplies, so I know it's supposed to be used for rolling out something. Maybe it's supposed to be used for fondant. I don't know, but I am definitely using this to roll out my dough. Now, I just sprinkled a little bit of olive oil onto the dough because it was starting to stick to the roller. You could also sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of that dough to keep it from sticking to the roller. Do you? It's one of the don't stick tricks. And this time around, I am focused on making my dough thinner, and I want to try to shape it like a giant rectangle or square at least. Why? Because I want for these to be true crackers. And the thinner they are, the crunchier your cracker will be. Yay! Also, when I'm kind of lazy and I don't shape it, then I wind up with a lot of ugly crackers that I wouldn't serve to other people, but they're just for me. And so the goal is, well, can I do this with less ugly crackers? Hence why I am taking all this time to shape this into a giant rectangle. Now, to be fair, I am going to eat all of this myself, but I like to, at times, challenge myself to do things the right way. And so that way, if I choose to put this together as a gift for someone else, I can be reminded of the joy that I experienced slowly reshaping the dough instead of freaking out at the last moment going, oh my gosh, why did I decide to do this? If you've seen my apple pie video, then you know exactly what I mean about doing things the right way when you're doing it for a gift. And I should have totally practiced doing it the right way beforehand, because then I would not have had to spend so much time peeling hot apples. But anyway, I'm almost done shaping this bad boy, and then we're gonna have to put some lines into it. Isn't this beautiful though? Like, seriously, it kind of reminds me of pizza. So now we're gonna go ahead and add lines so that our crackers break apart really easily. Yes, I'm using a pizza cutter. Last time I made crackers, I used a serrated knife. That's what I always use. But I saw that they had a really cute looking pizza cutter. So I said, let's do it. I'm not making pizza, but I can certainly use it to make some lines in these crackers. And it makes me feel fancy. And yes, that was definitely pretty crooked. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and make some lines so that we wind up with little squares. We're gonna pop those in the oven, and we are going to bake them at 400 for about 12 minutes. While those are baking, it's time to make our dip. So for our bean-free hummus dip, we are going to need some garlic. Now, the first time I made this dip, I actually used this kind of like crushed garlic with black pepper, corns, but I did see they had some fresh garlic here in the house that was starting to sprout. So I said, oh, let's use it because they're not gonna be home to use this garlic for another few weeks. So we're gonna go ahead and smash the garlic. I like just flatten it with a knife. You can certainly use a garlic press. But once you flatten it with a knife, the paper comes off a lot easier. The peel, I said paper, but you know, the peel from the garlic clove. And then we're going to go ahead and chop this up. So just chop this up into small pieces. And we are going to then take those tiny garlic pieces and pop it into a skillet, adding in some olive oil. Now, I have to say that you really want to be mindful of your garlic. This stove gets very hot. This pan gets very hot. And so even once I turn off the heat, I have to be careful not to burn the garlic because it will keep cooking even when the heat is off. So my flame right here is too high, you guys, but don't judge me, all right? I was hungry and I needed to get this done. So we have our garlic in the pan with some olive oil, and now we're gonna wash some celery, and we're going to put this in celery sticks. Now you might be going, oh Ray, you lost me, girl. You said celery? I am not a rabbit. And usually I'm just like, celery is for smoothies, but in this case it is, trust me, you're gonna love this. So what is the base for my no bean hummus dip? I'm using Kite Hill dairy-free, unsweetened, plain yogurt. Now, I'm using this particular brand. They have like a Greek style one, but they were out at the store. So we're using the plain one that's not Greek style. It's got 17 grams of protein, which is yay for us vegans. And the thing about this brand is there's no coconut in it. Most of the vegan dairy-free yogurts out there have coconut, and I can't have coconut. So I am so happy that Kite Hill makes this. We're gonna go ahead and squeeze in quarter of a lemon. And how much yogurt did I put in there? I put in, I believe we have a cup of yogurt. So actually, one serving on the container is 3/4 cup. So just do a serving of yogurt and you won't feel bad. And then we have 2 tablespoons of tahini. Now I actually really love the taste of tahini, so I will be adding some more tahini to this, but we're gonna throw in 1 tablespoon of olive oil before dumping in some more tahini. We've got a little bit of salt in here and we're gonna mix it up. Now, for whatever reason, I decided I just really needed to use that little crushed dehydrated garlic black peppercorn, so I add this in here as well. Now, as you can see, my garlic cooked a little bit too long, but it was still delicious. So here we go with a little extra tahini, and now it is time for mixing all of this up. This does not need to be cooked. It is so much faster than regular hummus. Regular hummus, you have to like cook your chickpeas and put things in a blender. None of that. Most of the delicious flavor of hummus comes from the tahini mixed with the garlic and the lemon. So we have those things here. We're just using the base being yogurt. Now, I wish I had found some turmeric in this house, because adding a little turmeric would give it more of a yellow color and then would definitely make your guest feel like, oh, we're having hummus. But still, we have a garlicky tasty dip. So pop that into a serving dish and then go ahead. I had some like leftover tofu squares that I had put in the air fryer from the night before. So I'm going to serve that with my dip. I've got my celery sticks. This is lunch, people. And usually lunch for me is just a bowl of vegetables and a block of tofu that's been air fried, and then I eat it out of a giant bowl and I feel like a pig at a trough. But I am doing it up because I know you on the YouTubes and you don't need to see people eating out of a bowl like a pig. And now it's time to get our crackers. Now, this particular oven was this like convection oven thing. I don't know. I had to leave the crackers in for a lot longer than usual, but they are thin, they are crispy, and that's what we want. These are kind of fresh out of the oven, so I'm burning my fingers just a little bit here. But yes, let your crackers cool down so that you can enjoy them. Even this dog found a cracker that I dropped and he ate it and he liked it. And so that's always a good sign, is when the dog wants to eat your food. Okay, so there we have it. We have lunch, my friends. Oh my goodness, so exciting. We have No Bean Hummus, deliciously garlic with homemade crackers and celery. Honestly, you guys, this was so good that I wound up eating this the next day, even without the crackers, just meat, celery, and this dip. Hope you try it, and if you do, let me know in the comments below.